actually fight the core Zerg structure.
Well, I think Medivac drops with Marines, you need to kill drones with that, and he didn't kill drones with it. He didn't really kill much at all except deny hatcheries. He did use those Liberators to some extent later on to the game. He got a few drone kills there, but I would have liked to see some tank drops as well, but we'll see how ByuN reacts to this next game. We'll be on Dust Towers. RagnaroK versus ByuN here at the Starcraft 2 StarLeague. Let's do it.
Let's do this, guys. By the way, tell your friends to tune in and join us here for the StarLeague 2016. Okay, we're here in game number 2. In the upper right, in the red, he is RagnaroK. In the bottom left, in the blue, our Terran player, ByuN.
I remember we were talking during Pro League how Sue has that cocky demeanor. I think it was Pro League or it was either...
Yeah, he always has this behind the eyes look, like, I know more than you.
It feels like RagnaroK also has that look as well when you have a look at him. It's like he has that smirk in the booth as well. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's...
I hadn't actually picked up on it, but yeah, I mean, I believe you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, well, definitely after winning that last game.
Confidence is sky high for him right now because ByuN is considered to be the favorite in this series because of how well he's been doing so far.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how far RagnaroK's going to go here. RagnaroK is one of these Zergs that's like, this was Star Trek, he'd be like one of the extras, you know, like one of the guys that dies at the start. When you compare him to the other Zerg players like Sue and many others. So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting year for him. He's actually had a decent run so far here in 2016.
I feel like he really wants to make that upgrade from extra to recurring cast in the SSL and in Korea so far, but as we see here, early gas from RagnaroK looks like he wants to get that speed out really early. ByuN here getting that Reaper, walling in off his main base as well, no surprises here. And as we see the factory, and I think he'll get a reactor on that barracks to get those Hellion Reapers out. Factory reactor Hellions. I don't know why that couldn't come up in my head. Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes the easiest things to say and sometimes don't come out. I've had that on GSL where I'm casting and I'm like, all I'm really trying to say is like he has more bases than his opponent, so he's ahead. But then like I don't know why it comes out garbled or whatever. So the Reaper's out now. Looks like he wants to try to get these drones, and this might be a drone pick here since one extractor's already being made during the Reaper harass. Nice job there by ByuN.
Yeah, and really interesting thing to note here is that RagnaroK opting. Oh, what's happening there? He's opting to go for that front expansion first rather than that back expansion. He wants to get that creep spread out really early, and I guess he doesn't really think that ByuN would do some sort of like proxy rack cheese shenanigans. So,
and also, I think when you take that front base first, the other back base is free later. Whereas sometimes you can actually be like there's a fight to claim that territory.
Yep, as we see here, as I was talking about before, we have that factory with the reactor. We're going to see double Hellion so far to help ByuN try and take control of this map.
So he's going to keep the Reaper out here. Terran's going to the gas tech after the expand, which is, this is pretty typical from what we've seen from Terran so far here. And one thing to note, and they actually beat me to it, I was going to try to get to this before we actually saw what the tech is, but he's going to go for Liberators. We've seen this balancing act here with Terran between getting Medivacs versus Liberators, right? I mean, there's a lot of utility with both of them. With Liberators, you have this air harass unit. You could take out Overlords. You can also secure positions that Zerg really just can't engage you on. With the Medivacs, obviously you can heal your army. Yeah, I think this is going to be the end of this Hellion harass. With the Medivacs, you can heal your army and actually do a good amount of dropping and harassing there. But as we watch each game go here in Legacy of the Void, it's interesting to see which unit players rely on more heavily.
It's good to see ByuN actually using Liberators on this map because it's really easy to get that sweet spot behind the mineral line with the Liberator if you position it correctly.
Although I'd say on this map compared to there are some others where Liberators are even better.
Especially with that Liberator range, if you decide to get it, it's just pretty much impossible for your opponent to deal with. As we see here, RagnaroK starting to spread his creep out down his ramp. And it looks like this Liberator is actually going to go for the main base. So we'll see how much damage this does and how fast RagnaroK reacts to it.
So the Liberator's out here at the top center. And I believe we have a push. Can you actually check on our preview PC? What is that in the middle of the map here?
That is 3 Hellions.
Couple of Hellions, excuse me. Couple of Hellions coming down here. Liberator now in position, but just out of range of the drones. I think that was actually a misclick. That didn't seem to be the proper place to set up.
As we see here, gets one drone, but that Spore Crawler of RagnaroK is actually going to go up. So nice move here from ByuN though, doing a scan, taking out that creep tuner. That's the only creep tuner that RagnaroK has been working on so far. So it's going to take a while for that creep to extend further down that ramp as this Liberator just takes some pot shots on this Overlord. We'll see what he does after this Overlord might... No, he doesn't die. Ravagers come in.
Yeah, I think the threat of the Ravagers is pretty high here. You know, the Liberator is one of the clunkier units in this game, so you got to really be on top of it, or it can just get hit and not even in a fair trade, just be gunned down easily.
What I'm loving here from ByuN is that he hasn't recklessly lost these Hellions yet. This means that he can keep poking at that ramp of RagnaroK. And one thing that we see a lot from Zergs in this matchup, and especially on this map, we saw it last week between 2 and Innovation, was that a lot of Zergs are favoring that Ravager, Roach, Ling timing attack once they get that third base up. But it looks like RagnaroK's just content sitting at his base on 3 bases right now, getting those upgrades, like last game, the speed roaches, missiles, and ground upgrade for the ground units for RagnaroK.
Okay, so he's grouping up now. Now expanding southward into the center right here is RagnaroK. It's been a fairly standard Terran versus Zerg so far. We've had a little bit of harass here from the Terran. Zerg slowly pushing creep out. I would also say I think ByuN's done a pretty effective job of pushing that creep back a good amount. But pretty soon it's going to become push time here, and Terran's going to actually have to push out, try to do some serious damage, and that's where we're going to find out just how solid the control is for these two guys.
Oh, nice circling harass here from RagnaroK. Takes out 2 SSVs as those Hellions have to go back. And we've got a 2 medevac drop here coming into the base of RagnaroK from ByuN. And we saw these medevac drops last game, but they didn't really do that much damage. We'll see how much damage they do right here.
Okay, he does come in here. Nice job getting these 2 Overlords. That's definitely something here. He can stem, pick up, and not a single Marine lost here. But at the same time, RagnaroK coming into the third base and taking out a lot of SCVs. A little bit late reaction timing there for ByuN as these Lings get out mostly unscathed.
Yeah, we see though ByuN is actually getting those supply depots up, and something that a lot of Terrans are very guilty of in this map, because the ramp there at the third base is so big. As we see there, Ravager being chasing away the Liberator. Back to my point, Terrans are very guilty of being really lazy with that third base, not walling it off with supply depots or whatever buildings they can use. But we see ByuN actually being smart, trying to start that. But we see the run by as well. I didn't know why ByuN did not attack those Zerglings, and he has to come back and delay this. RagnaroK's doing a really good job delaying this push.
ByuN a little bit absent here on the map. I got to say, I'm kind of surprised to see that. And it's not the first time we saw those Lings get in there once already. ByuN is going to have to do some serious damage with this push. Let's see if he's got enough. Right now, the supply lead ahead slightly here for RagnaroK.
We've got a couple of tanks here with those medivacs. We'll see how well ByuN positions this as he's trying to take this 4th base out. It's really important for ByuN for him to take out this 4th base so that RagnaroK doesn't have the extra gas income. And as we see here, RagnaroK just trying to push this away.
Yeah, the Liberator's actually gunning down drones here. Nicely done. ByuN kicking a lot of ass, taking out that hatchery while still killing these drones. This is the kind of play we need to see from ByuN here.
Oh, I love this move here from ByuN. Oh, actually, no. I was wrong there, but I thought he was going to use that small group of Marines to try and snipe those infestors, but it gets like...
I think that's what he was trying to do.
I don't know why he stemmed back, though. Maybe he missed control with his army group there.
Okay, so he's now moving back over here. ByuN is.
He's done his damage already, so he can move back now, but...
Yeah, this is the right play, right? Like, Zerg's on 3 bases. Zerg's trying to get that Hive Tech, but, 3 bases is barely enough to scrape by on Hive Tech. You really, if you're Zerg, you want to have 4 bases or 5 bases. As much access to gas and then secondary minerals as possible. So ByuN, I think if he can keep this momentum going, he should be able to win with the next push, 1 or 2 pushes he has.
Yeah, as long as he keeps denying that 4th base, RagnaroK, he's teched up really quickly to that Great Aspire, so looks like he wants to get those Broodlords out like he did in the previous game, but ByuN's got more control of the map than he did previous game, and ByuN's actually doing a really good job here. Nice splits to avoid the fungal growth, but we'll see how this goes.
All right, we see the corrosive bile being shot and connecting beautifully with these 3 tanks. The Zerg army fairly softened up. Marines continuing to gun down, and just Ravagers are not going to be able to deal damage alone to stimmed Marines, and this means that the 4th base of RagnaroK may go down again.
Yeah, as this drop at the main base is a shutdown, but ByuN has these Marines just chipping away at these Ravagers. Roach has come out to help tank some of the Marine damage, but ByuN can just run back again and try, rebuild his army, gather up all his units, and go for another attack.
You know, guys, for those of you watching who want to get better at Terran versus Zerg, watch what ByuN's doing here. Notice he's not overextending. A lot of times he's taking out the 3rd base. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. He's going to attack in here. He might lose his army because of this. But yeah, if you take out the Zerg's base, you know what you can do? Go back home, expand, as Artosis has said, get more ahead. And that's, I mean, it's up to the Zerg. That's their problem at that point in time to figure out how to catch up. You can build a bigger army and just keep smashing the Zerg. We've seen a lot of players get overexcited and they just keep pushing forward and they want to end the game, and then eventually the game evens out because they've lost a chunk of their army.
Sure, as we see RagnaroK still trying to use these Zerglings to run by, do some damage, but right now ByuN is catching on that. As we see another drop at the main, we'll see how much damage this does and how much it actually draws away the army of RagnaroK.
Nice pickup over here. He's going to go ahead and boost out. And as he heads up, scans are going to come down. We do see RagnaroK hanging on by a thread. He needs to get another base. He's going to this Broodlord tech, and I think when he gets that up, maybe Terran can't push in there. We'll have to see. But at the same time, even with the Broodlord tech, one fundamental problem with Broodlord tech is how do you get across the map and kill your opponent? Can't Terran just keep going around with Liberators, Medevacs, even walking on ground to harass you?
Especially in Legacy of the Void, there are so many options for the Terran to get around those Broodlords, and that's why we haven't seen Broodlords lately in Legacy of the Void. But now we see a major battle here. These Ravagers are being chased away by the major army of ByuN, and these Broodlords and Infestors aren't really doing the damage that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, there really isn't that critical mass of Broodlords necessary to hold this off, and there it is. GG, we've tied it up 1-1 as we now move on into game number 3.
Nicely played there from ByuN, able to shut down that 4th base of RagnaroK, and in that situation there, RagnaroK got too greedy, teched up way too quickly before he could actually properly secure his 4th base, and you're going to get that critical mass of units in order to deflect the army of ByuN.
Nicely done there. I got to say, I'm really impressed with ByuN in that last game. We see the coach coming in here giving RagnaroK a pep talk. I think it's pretty simple. RagnaroK just didn't have enough solid defense there. Wasn't ready to engage that army. I mean, the 4th base in Legacy, especially in Terran vs. Zerg, Zerg has to get that up and running. If you don't have, I just stepped on my headset cord, excuse me. If you don't have that 4th base as the game goes on, Terran's always going to be ahead. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue our match here with RagnaroK against ByuN in Pro League 2016.